preparing for the UPSC, and then the pre did not. I was not able to clear the pre for a couple of times. That was the entire thing, but that could not happen. So
while you were preparing for UPSC, were you preparing for state
yes.
services simultaneously, or was there some timeline separation of preparation? Hello, Abinash, how are you? Welcome, and first of all, many, many congratulations at the success that you've achieved, and you've reached a place that many, many students, hope to reach one day, see their hard work materialize, get that success, see that joy for their family and for themselves. How are you feeling now?
Ma'am, I'm feeling relieved. I'm feeling a bit relaxed. At least I have a safety net of that kind of thought that I'm going through.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be a feeling that a lot of students will actually relate with. Because बहुत ही
Yes.
एक लंबी journey होती है, and it's a very isolating, very tiring journey also. So how was your journey? I'm very interested in knowing that, how is it that you decided to start with this, and कैसा रहा आपका सफर? What were the ups and the downs, and how long have you been actually on this journey?
Ma'am, like when I started my 12th, then from then onwards, I was very serious about joining army. So from the next 8, 9 odd years, I was trying for army. I have given 14 services selection board interviews, but I could not make it in any one of them. So finally, I thought, if not joining army, then let's think of something else. At least I have to raise a family and a lot of responsibility. I was being selfish throughout to pursue my aim to join the army, to join and being an infantry officer. So that could not happen. Then I started preparing for the UPSC, and then the pre did not. I was not able to clear the pre for a couple of times. Then, fortunately, last year I took your course and I appeared for the state PCs, and I got to the interview, but I could not make it to the final list. Then again, this time, luckily, I got a rank because of thanks to you, because of PSIRs, especially PSIRs, ma'am.
That is very kind of you, Abinash. I would love if you can just tell all the students, where you come from. How was your childhood? In school, were you always that studious student? Before, you mentioned that you were preparing for the army. What is it that did during undergrad? Because, बहुत बार बच्चे सोचते हैं कि we have to fit a certain kind of mold to make it into this
Right.
exam, right? Which is why then the mental pressure also increases, because often you see, अच्छा ये IIT वाले, AIMS वाले, they are all clearing the exam. So am I even good enough for this? So would you share that journey with fellow aspirants?
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, I belong to Gopinathpur Sasam. It's a small village very near to the Paradip port in Odisha. So I had my schooling from Odia medium till class 10th in my village school. Then 12th from Kendrapada Autonomous College in science stream. That is also one of the best college in our district headquarter, but not a fancy college like St. Stephen's, like where you belong, ma'am. So yeah, so it is I have a very humble background, and I still have a very humble background. Ma'am, in my school days, I was bit mediocre in my studies. I was more into the sports, the athletics, this sort of thing. And when I get exposure to I would go for a drop and then engineering. At that time, I was very much into sports. I was doing 10-meter air rifle shooting at that time. So I was part of NCC throughout my academic career, 2 years in school and 3 years in during my engineering. So my entire life was revolving around the army. So once I get into the after completing my graduation, I'll join army. That was the entire thing, but that could not happen. So here I
So,
am.
this switch, as you said, and it was very interesting when you said that you found it to be very selfish, that you weren't thinking of your family, you were only looking at what you wanted to achieve. And political science में हम देखते हैं ना, we think of
Yes,
things like value monism or value pluralism. We talk of things like how different cultures approach these things very differently, है ना? तो अब
Yes,
आपने जो
ma'am. Yes.
बोला मुझे ऐसे लगा कितना quintessentially वो एक Indian child scenario है ना?
Yes.
As children to Indian families, and I think not just who stay in India but anywhere around the world. हमें ये हमेशा बहुत लगता रहता है कि हमसे पहले हमारा परिवार, हमारा community, and especially when you've talked about joining the army also. But first off, I think it is absolutely not wrong in wanting to pursue your dream. It was
Yes,
something
ma'am.
that was, I feel even that dream of yours was so geared towards service. And that is what reflects, I feel, from your childhood till now, this orientation towards serving the community and the nation at large. So, I just wanted to say that it's absolutely fine to, I think, pursue something that you truly believe in. And, while the army may not have materialized, right, you have now, you
Yes.
will find possibly fulfillment somewhere else. है ना? तो
Yes,
ये
ma'am.
मेरे
Yes,
को
ma'am.
एक बहुत बढ़िया लगा कि you set your mind to something, but the fact that that could not happen, you did not let that weaken yourself. And ये I think
Correct,
एक
ma'am.
बहुत important lesson है, especially for a lot of us, right? And as you said, it doesn't matter what colleges you go for. आपका नहीं हुआ, है ना? आप नहीं आप
Yes.
बोल सकते कि कैसे नहीं हुआ. The ability to move on from there is very important. Now, how did you orient yourself? Army ka jo preparation hai, SSB ka jo preparation is very different from
Yes,
both
ma'am.
UPSC as well as state administrative services. Slightly more academic, more in-depth. The kind of knowledge that you need is also very vast and very varying also. Right. So, what were certain changes that you incorporated, and what were certain timelines that you followed? Right. And also, I'd like to know, like, you were also preparing for UPSC. So, were you doing
Yes.
both the things in tandem, or did you have certain timelines set? कि अच्छा अभी मैं ज़्यादा UPSC पे focus कर रहा हूँ. Now onwards, I'm going to shift to the state administrative services preparation.
Correct, ma'am. Ma'am, the first question that you had, that is about the changes in terms of preparation, the preparation for army and then the PCS and UPSC. I feel there are few things that really helped me that journey. For example, ma'am, especially at the back of my preparation, I was very much interested towards the international relation because in our personal interview they ask a very comprehensive international relation questions. So I was very like that was my hobby. I used to listen podcast related to international relation. So that really helped me in the foreign in the PSR. For example, ma'am, if there is just certain questions that is like India Russia relationship sort of question, then I can use certain defense terminology, some weaponries, for example, why India pulled out of the Su-57 kind of perspective, which is very rare in the civil administrative thing. That gives me an uniqueness to the my answers. That is number one, ma'am. Then the work ethics, the discipline that I used to do, that really helped me. And here I put more effort towards my study. That was the only thing I did the extra. And ma'am, about the second question that you had about what was it? Can you please repeat again?
Uh, while you were preparing for UPSC, were you preparing for state
Yes.
services simultaneously, or was there some timeline separation of preparation?
Ma'am, I was working, so it was very much difficult for me to simultaneously prepare for UPSC and state PCS at that same time. But I was writing two pre for UPSC. I could not clear the pre right now by today. Hopefully, it may change in the future. But yeah, so I was like, if I get some safety net, then I can jump for that vertical displacement. So as for the timing, I have a bit of safety net kind of thing. Then I am thinking about going for that vertical leap.
Right, right. Okay. Now, in Odisha services as well, you again have to focus on GS ke char subjects and then plus you have optional. Like, what were certain sources that you were following for GS? Then we can talk about optional as well. And how much time were you dedicating? And then prelims ke time pe, were you only preparing for prelims or did you prepare for mains first? Then closer to prelims, move towards prelims? What was your strategy?
Ma'am, looking at my GS number, I don't think I should share my strategy. It's very mediocre at best. My political science score was very good. I got a 177 in the PSI paper 2. So I
Oh,
think
that's
PSR was, yes, ma'am. So I think you are the only source. Your notes, I have printed it out, and I personally noted the thinkers, the theories, etc. For example, the Plato thing. Whatever you used to say in the class, I used to write them. It is 43 pages, 43 pages dedicated to Plato, and that goes on and on. So a PSR thing, it was sorted. Though you have recommended to go for the UP GOBA NCRT, because of my scarcity of time, I only relied on you, and it gave me the result for 2 consecutive years. So that was sorted from that angle. And for ma'am, for the general study, ma'am, there was a coaching institute here in Odisha, UPSC Tree. I took the test series, and he was very helpful. The teacher, I my like my advantage was I choose my teacher, and I completely relied on them. I did not go for one material to another, and I would definitely suggest that to every fellow aspirant. Choose your teacher wisely and dedicate to them. And I feel every teacher is good enough. If you completely follow the person, it will provide you the result.
right. Absolutely. Now, for mains, I feel answer writing, right? Knowledge is one component, but to be able to translate what you studied into good answers is a completely different ball game, and that is where often students miss out on, कि वो पढ़ते रहते हैं कि हम शायद ये ना आए, कुछ और हम भूल ना जाए. How much time did you dedicate to writing answers?
Ma'am, every day, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, I used to write answers before the mains examination happened. I was not very regular at the early stages of my preparation, but I was doing that in a regular basis. And ma'am, one thing I want to tell you here through the platform to the all the aspirant for the PSI optional in state PCS, there is a fundamental uh, problem, I should not say, but there is a fundamental issues for with regard to the timing. For example, I faced that personally. For example, the PSI paper happens one day after the GS paper. So the duration is one day. So there are few very famous quote that we used to remember, like religion is an opium for the masses. These are very we by heart remember that. But when it comes to the like Platonic education, somebody commented on that. Somebody commented on that particular comment. So these things I could not remember that those specificity. Uh, I need to last minute. I need to go for that at the last minute. So that cannot be
Mm.
happened in state PCS. So I would say I did the right thing that I put down some generic code which can be applied to every places. For example, there is a negation of negation, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. I used to use that in conclusion of different things like whether state sovereignty has been decreased or not. I gave an extreme answer and the complete different answer. Then at the conclusion, I write this is the thesis, this is the antithesis, and I combine both of them and make a synthesis out of it. So I did some creativity innovation in that regard. I tried to connect the paper one and paper two of the PSIR. So that probably helped me.
Right, right, right. And I think those interlinkages really help showcase that you haven't just mugged up something, you've genuinely understood it, and that is why you're able to apply it at different places as well. Now, again, as you mentioned, right, revision. No matter what exam you're appearing for, especially prelims के time पे तो आप करते ही है, but mains के time पे it becomes harder because the number of subjects increases, right? So, did you rely on making certain short notes? What was your strategy in revising effectively and quickly?
Ma'am, I'm very bad at note making. I make like literally epics while writing down the note. So I did not do any short notes sort of thing. Probably I was lucky that I get through because many toppers they do, but I could not do it except for PSIR. For general studies, I was more relying on the concepts, whatever the concept is, and my peripheral knowledge is good enough. So I was relying more on that, whatever, and I made some quotes. I tried this particular attempt. I tried my level best so that my answer becomes visible to the examiner. It should not be one of the 8,000 copies that the examiner is going through. So for that, many of the questions, I have started with quote or certain interesting things so that it catches the eyeballs. So that was my fundamental strategy. But apart from that, I did not make any short notes, ma'am. I made notes like comprehensive notes.
Right. And I think that is fair. For different people, different things tend to work. Right. I was also someone who wasn't very comfortable making short notes. I would try making them, but they would end up being medium-sized notes at best, if not lengthy. Right. So I think that's a very foolproof strategy. Are you looking forward? I'm sure you will be preparing for UPSC again. Getting down to the trenches again. Is that something that you will be appearing for?
Mama, I'll speak to you on that personally.
I think yes, it's a good time to take some break. Enjoy this. How are your family members and friends feeling?
Everyone is fantastic. Everyone is happy. Ma'am, if you allow me, I want to name one of my friends. This is my first
Absolutely.
her name was Sonika. She was literally a helping hand for me throughout. So I really wish she would clear in the next attempt. She is far more
That I
talented
think
than me.
that is very nice to we our success is only a product of all the people who help us through it, right? And
Yes.
I hope that she is able to join you in these meritorious ranks too very soon. Abinash, thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely talking with you, and I think you've given a very honest insight to all of the students, aspirants, and we see a lot more students of ours clearing Odisha. So it's we also feel very, very good. And Odisha happens to be one of those few states which is very regular with its examination. The quality of exam is also great. So I think it's an encouragement for students, for teachers, and everyone who wants to join the administrative services to have something like this available to them,
Yes.
right? So thank you so much, Abinash, for taking time out. We'll come to an end to the formal interview.